On April 14th, 1912, something extraordinary and deeply unequal was unfolding in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Inside the grand dining saloon of the most luxurious ship ever built, the wealthiest people alive were settling into a multi-course dinner that rivaled the finest restaurants in Europe. Crystal glasses shimmered under electric light. Silverware clinked softly. Conversations floated between courses, but far below, in the ship's lower decks, another dinner was being served simpler, quieter, and far more practical. On the same ship, in the same ocean, with the same fate approaching, two completely different meals were being eaten. In first class, menus were printed in elegant French, offering choices, variety, and indulgence. Meanwhile, in third class, there were no choices at all, just a handful of basic items meant to satisfy hunger, not impress the senses. What makes this moment haunting isn't just the contrast, it's the timing. Unknown to everyone on board, the ship had only a few hours left before history would change forever. The menus from that night survived. They floated. Many of the people who held them did not. These menus give us a rare glimpse into the final hours of over 2,000 passengers. Through food, we can see class divisions, cultural influences, and even the hopes of those traveling toward a new life. Down in steerage, meals began with something as simple as hard cabin biscuits, dense crackers designed to last months without spoiling. Families broke them apart, dipped them into thin soup, or saved pieces for later. For many, this wasn't just food, it was survival. These passengers weren't complaining. Most had sacrificed everything for a ticket to America. Even the simplest meal felt like progress, and yet, none of them knew that this ordinary dinner would become their last. But if the lowest decks were built on survival, what was happening 8 floors above wasn't a who's dine-in. It was pure luxury, and the next course reveals just how far that divide really went. Dinner in third class started simply with a bowl of rice soup. It was thin, warm, and filling enough to take the edge off hunger, served quickly to hundreds of passengers. It wasn't meant to impress. It was meant to sustain. For families who'd spend days below deck, battling seasickness, even this modest soup felt comforting. There were no options, no second choices. You ate what was given. Now, compare that to first class. Upstairs, passengers were presented with multiple soup options, each prepared with precision. One of them was a smooth, creamy barley soup, rich, velvety, and carefully seasoned. It wasn't meant to fill you up. It was designed to prepare your palate for what was coming next. Another option. A crystal clear consomme so refined you could practically see through it. This wasn't just cooking, it was culinary craftsmanship. It required hours of preparation and expert technique. While third-class meals were about survival, first-class dining was about experience, and then there was second class. Somewhere in between, passengers there enjoyed dishes like curried chicken and rice, a flavorful nod to global influences of the time. It was earthy, well-prepared, and far more satisfying than anything served below, still far from the extravagance above. Even basic sides told a story. In third class, boiled potatoes and canned corn were staples, familiar, filling, and shared among families. Mothers made sure children ate first. Every bite mattered. For many, this was the best food they had eaten in weeks. Meanwhile, above them, courses kept coming, each more elaborate than the last. Same ship, same night, completely different realities. But the real turning point of the meal wasn't the soup, it was the main course. Because what was served next revealed just how extreme the contrast had become. In third class, the centerpiece of dinner was simple: roast beef with gravy. It was thick, warm, and satisfying. No decoration, no fancy presentation, just honest food served in large portions. For families who had lived unlimited meals during their journey, this felt like abundance. It represented something bigger, a promise of a better life ahead. For many passengers, that plate of beef symbolized hope. But in second class, things stepped up. Here, passengers were served dishes like roasted lamb with mint sauce or baked fish with tangy dressings. Meals were plated properly, served with care, and designed to feel refined without being extravagant. It was the dining experience of the growing middle class, respectable, comfortable, and dignified. Then came first class. Here, the main courses weren't just meals, they were statements. Dishes included delicacies, prepared with rare ingredients, layered flavors, and complex techniques. One standout dish combined tender cuts of beef with rich toppings and luxurious sauces that would cost hundreds of dollars to recreate today. Every plate required coordination between multiple chefs. This wasn't just about eating it. It was about showcasing wealth. Even the pace of the meal told a story. First-class passengers spent hours dining, savoring each course slowly. Meanwhile, in third class, meals were finished quickly, often out of necessity. Time, like food, was a luxury. As the courses continued, something strange began to happen. No one upstairs was hungry anymore, but the dishes kept coming anyway, because at this level, Demel wasn't about hunger. It was about excess, and just when it seemed like the meal couldn't get more elaborate. The next courses took a surprising turn from heavy meat to delicate bites that were never meant to fill you at all. As the meal progressed in first class, portions became smaller but far more intricate. Dishes like roasted duck, delicate game birds, and finely prepared cold courses began to appear. These weren't meant to satisfy hunger. They were designed to impress. Each plate was part of a performance. BT's point, most passengers were already full. But that didn't matter. The structure of the meal demanded continuation. Tiny servings of rare ingredients were presented with elegance foods that many people at the time would never experience in their lives. Meanwhile, far below, third-class passengers had already finished eating, their entire meal simple filling, and direct was over long before first class had even reached its halfway point. Back upstairs, the experience shifted again. Cold dishes like rich piti and crisp vegetables appeared, signaling a transition. These courses weren't about nourishment, they were about refinement and status. To eat like this was to belong to a certain world. A world where dinner wasn't rushed. A world where presentation mattered as much as taste. Then came desserts. Warm puddings, delicate jellies, and perfectly crafted pastries arrived one after another. Some dishes were inspired by famous hotels and traditions, connecting passengers to a broader world of luxury. Even ice cream was served, a remarkable achievement on a ship in 1912. Every detail was controlled, every flavor carefully planned. But outside, in the darkness, the ocean remained indifferent. By the time the final courses were served, the meal had reached its peak. But what happened after dinner, the quiet moments would become the last normal memories many passengers would ever have. As dinner came to an end, first-class passengers transitioned into a familiar ritual. Coffee was served. Conversation softened. Some moved to lounges, others to smoking rooms. Cigars were lit. Drinks were poured. It was the calm after an extraordinary meal. A moment to relax, reflect, and enjoy the evening. No one roosed. No one worried. It felt like any other night. Meanwhile, in third class, families gathered around the simplest item on the menu: fresh bread and butter. There was nothing extravagant about it. No elaborate preparation. No presentation. But it was warm, it was sared. For many, it was enough. Parents broke pieces for their children. Meals were quiet, humble, and deeply human. And in a way, the simple food carried more meaning than any luxurious dish above, because it represented something real: connection, family, and hope. Within hours, everything would change. The ship would strike ice. Panic would replace calm. And those same passengers, rich and poor alike, would face a reality no one at dinner could have imagined. But even in that tragedy, the contrast remained. Access to lifeboats, time to react, chances of survival, all shaped once again by class. That final meal tells a story far beyond food. It reveals how differently people lived and how differently they were given a chance to survive. Because in the end, it wasn't the most expensive dish that mattered, it was the simplest one. And the people who ate it deserved far more than the fate they were given.